Make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you can enjoy our latest bedtime stories.
On a sunny morning by the riverbank, Carl the big silly crocodile was feeling extra silly. He rummaged through his stash of old costumes and found the silliest hat he could wear. An enormous, floppy, bright red hat with a big yellow flower sticking out on top. Carl put on the hat and admired himself in the river's reflection. "Haha, I look absolutely ridiculous," he giggled, flashing his big crocodile grin. Just then, Ziggy the golden retriever puppy came bouncing along. "Hey Carl, what's up with that silly hat?" Ziggy barked excitedly. "It's my new look for today. I'm off to spread some laughter and silliness," Carl said proudly, adjusting the hat. "Can I join you?" asked Ziggy, wagging his tail. "Of course, Ziggy. Let's go see Sully. He could use a good laugh," Carl said. They made their way down the river until they found Sully sunbathing on a rock, looking rather grumpy. Sully wasn't in the best of moods because he hadn't caught any fish that morning. "Hey Sully," called Carl with a wide grin. "What do you think of my new hat?" Sully squinted at Carl, trying to hold back a smile. "You look ridiculous, Carl," he grumbled. "That's the point," Carl laughed, twirling around and making the flower on the hat spin. Ziggy couldn't help but burst into giggles, and soon, Sully's frown turned into a chuckle. Carl plopped down next to Sully and offered him the hat. "Here, try it on," he said. Sully hesitated but put the hat on. The sight of a big crocodile in a floppy, flowered hat was too much. Ziggy and Carl laughed so hard they rolled onto the grass. Sully looked at them, grinning. "You know, Carl, you've got a talent for making people smile. That's what I'm here for," Carl said proudly. "A little silliness can brighten anyone's day." And with that, the three friends spent the rest of the afternoon making silly faces, playing games, and laughing together, proving that even the silliest things can turn a grumpy day into a fun adventure. It was a hot day by the river, and Carl the big silly crocodile had an idea. "It's the perfect day for a bubble party," he declared, pulling out a giant bottle of bubble soap from his stash of fun things. Ziggy, the playful golden retriever puppy, wagged his tail excitedly. "Bubbles? I love bubbles," he barked. "Me too," Carl grinned. He dipped a huge bubble wand into the soapy liquid and blew a gust of air. Out floated a gigantic shimmering bubble, bigger than Ziggy. Ziggy chased after it, leaping and barking. "I'm gonna pop it," he shouted. But the bubble floated higher and higher, drifting over to Sully, who was lounging nearby. "Hey, watch where you're blowing those bubbles," Sully grumbled, trying to look serious. But even he couldn't help but smile at the sight of the enormous, wobbly bubble. Just then, Tilly the turtle, who loved exploring new things, paddled up from the water. "What's going on here?" she asked. "Carl made a bubble as big as a beach ball," Ziggy exclaimed. Tilly blinked. "I've never seen a bubble that big before. Can I try?" "Of course," Carl said, handing her the wand. Tilly dipped it into the soap and took a deep breath. When she blew, the bubble was so big that it started to lift off, pulling Tilly's tiny feet off the ground. "Whoa, I'm floating away," Tilly giggled as she dangled in the air. "Oh, Tilly's in a bubble trouble," Carl laughed, waddling after her. Ziggy was jumping and barking, trying to catch her. Sully, now fully awake and amused, joined in the chase. "We've got to pop that bubble before it floats too far," he said, his big tail swishing excitedly. With one big leap, Carl stretched up, opened his wide, toothy smile, and gently poked the bubble with his snout. Pop! The bubble burst, and Tilly landed softly on Carl's back, laughing. "That was amazing," Tilly cheered. "Let's do it again." Carl grinned, looking at his friends. "You know, it's not every day we get into such gigantic bubble trouble," he chuckled. "But I wouldn't have it any other way." Ziggy barked happily, Tilly clapped her tiny flippers, and even Sully gave a cheerful grin. And so, the rest of the afternoon was filled with laughter, bubbles, and endless fun, as Carl, the big silly crocodile, once again turned an ordinary day into a memorable adventure. It was a warm afternoon by the river, and Carl the big silly crocodile was feeling playful. He stretched his long tail and looked around for his friends. "Today is the perfect day for a splash contest," Carl announced with a mischievous grin. Ziggy the golden retriever puppy bounced over with excitement. "A splash contest? That sounds like so much fun. I want to join." Sully the big crocodile lounging nearby raised an eyebrow. "A splash contest, huh? You know I'm the biggest, Carl. I'll win this easily," he said with a smirk. Carl laughed. "Oh, we'll see about that, Sully. It's not just about size, it's about style." Just then, Ollie the otter popped up from the water. "Did someone say splash contest? Count me in," Ollie squeaked, doing a little flip in the air. The friends gathered at the river's edge, each taking turns to show off their best splash. Ziggy went first. He ran as fast as he could, leaping off a rock and landing in the water with a small splash. "Tada!" he barked, shaking his wet fur. "How was that?" "Not bad for a puppy," Carl teased. "But watch this." Carl waddled up to the edge, then spun around, using his big tail like a spring. He launched himself into the air and belly flopped into the water with a massive splash, sending water flying everywhere. Ziggy rolled on the ground, laughing as he got soaked. "Beat that, Sully," Carl called out. Sully grinned. "All right, move aside and let the master show you how it's done." With a mighty leap, Sully did a twist in the air and landed with a gigantic splash that sent waves rippling across the river. "Wow, Sully, that was amazing!" Ziggy cheered. Even Carl looked impressed. Ollie the otter, small but confident, stood on a rock. "My turn," he chirped. Ollie somersaulted high into the air and dove headfirst into the river, creating a tiny splash. But just as everyone thought he was done, Ollie's tail flicked out of the water, sending a perfect jet of water shooting up like a fountain. Carl's mouth dropped open. "Ollie, that was incredible," he laughed. "I didn't see that coming at all." Ziggy wagged his tail. "Who wins, Carl?" Carl thought for a moment, then grinned. "I think we all win for making the biggest, silliest splashes ever. But Ollie definitely gets extra points for style." The friends laughed and cheered, enjoying their fun and splashing around until the sun began to set. They lay on the riverbank, drying off in the warm evening light, happy and tired from their silly splash contest. "You know, Carl," Sully said, chuckling, "you always come up with the best ideas." Carl beamed. "That's what friends are for, to turn a normal day into something unforgettable and silly." And with that, they watched the sunset together, ready for whatever silly adventure tomorrow would bring. One bright and sunny afternoon, Carl the big silly crocodile had a fantastic idea. "Let's have a picnic by the river," he exclaimed. He gathered all his favorite snacks, crunchy apples, fresh watermelon, and some of his famous peanut butter sandwiches. Ziggy the golden retriever puppy wagged his tail with excitement. "A picnic sounds amazing, Carl. I'll bring some tasty bones to chew on." Sully the big crocodile heard the commotion and waddled over. "Did I hear picnic? I'm in. I'll bring some sweet honey from the beehive I found this morning," Sully said with a grin. With everything packed up, the friends headed to their favorite spot, under the big shady tree by the river. They spread out a colorful blanket and set up their picnic. Carl placed the food in the middle, and everyone's mouth started watering. But just as they were about to dig in, a strong gust of wind blew through, and whoosh, the picnic basket flipped over, and all the food disappeared. "What happened?" Ziggy the poopy yelped, sniffing around frantically. Carl scratched his head. "This is a mystery. Where could all our food have gone so quickly?" Just then, a chirpy little voice called out from above. "Looks like you're missing something." It was Benny the bird, perched on a branch, holding a peanut butter sandwich in his tiny beak. "Benny, did you take our picnic?" Carl asked, squinting up at the cheeky bird. Benny fluttered down, looking guilty but smiling. "I didn't take it all," he chirped. "But I did see what happened. A group of sneaky raccoons ran off with your snacks when the wind blew. Ziggy gasped. Raccoons? Oh no, what do we do now? Carl, with his silly grin, looked determined. We're going to solve this mystery and get our picnic back. Benny, can you show us where the raccoons went? Benny nodded. Follow me, he chirped, flying ahead. The friends hurried after Benny, zigzagging through the trees until they reached a small clearing. There, sitting in a circle, were the raccoons, happily munching on the snacks. Carl stepped forward and cleared his throat. Hey there, raccoons. We're glad you're enjoying the food, but that was our picnic. The raccoons looked up, surprised. The smallest raccoon stepped forward, holding a half-eaten apple. We're so sorry, she squeaked. We thought the food was up for grabs when we saw it blow away. Ziggy, ever the friendly pup, wagged his tail. Why don't we all share the picnic together instead? The raccoons' eyes lit up. Really? You'd share with us? They asked. Of course. Carl laughed. The more the merrier. But next time, you should ask first. And so, they all headed back to the river together. Carl, Ziggy, Sully, Benny, and the raccoons laid out the picnic again, this time with everyone pitching in. The raccoons brought fresh berries they had collected, and Benny shared some sunflower seeds. They spent the rest of the afternoon feasting, laughing, and telling stories. Carl, with a twinkle in his eye, realized that the missing picnic turned into an even better party with new friends. Well, this turned out to be the best picnic ever, Carl said, smiling at the happy crowd. Ziggy barked in agreement. Carl, you always find a way to make things fun, even when they go wrong. Sully nodded, munching on a sweet slice of watermelon. You're right, Ziggy. It's not just about the food, it's about the friends we share it with. And with that, they watched the sunset together, their bellies full and their hearts even fuller, ready for whatever fun and silly adventure came next. It was a breezy afternoon by the river, and Carl the big silly crocodile was feeling competitive. He spotted Ziggy the golden retriever puppy playing fetch with a stick and had an idea. Ziggy, what do you say we have a race down the river? Carl asked with a playful grin. Ziggy's ears perked up as Carl the silly crocodile called out. How about a race, Ziggy? It'll be so much fun. But I know I can swim faster than you. Ziggy wagged his tail excitedly. That sounds great, Carl. But since I can't swim as fast, I'll run along the riverbank while you swim. Just then, Sully the big crocodile slid into the water with a big splash. A race? Count me in, he grinned. As the three friends prepared for the race, a cheerful quack echoed from above. Daisy the duck swooped down, her feathers sparkling in the sunlight. Did I hear someone say race? I want to join too, she chirped. Carl chuckled. Of course, Daisy. The more the merrier. Let's race to the big rock on the other side of the river. The friends lined up at the starting point. Carl wiggled his tail, Sully flexed his muscles, Ziggy stretched his paws, and Daisy flapped her wings excitedly. Ready, set, go! Ziggy barked and the race began. Carl splashed into the water, swimming quickly with strong strokes. Sully followed right behind, using his powerful tail to push himself forward. Ziggy dashed along the riverbank, leaping over rocks and sticks, his golden fur glowing in the sun. Daisy flew gracefully above the water, her wings creating little ripples as she zoomed by. The friends laughed and cheered as they raced, but soon, they ran into a problem. A giant log was blocking the river, stopping Carl and Sully in their tracks. Ziggy slowed down, panting from the run. How are we going to get past this? Daisy fluttered down and had an idea. Why don't we work together to move it? I'll push from above, Carl and Sully can push from the water, and Ziggy can pull from the shore. They all agreed and started working together. Daisy flapped her wings hard, pushing the log from the top. Carl and Sully pushed from below with all their might, while Ziggy tugged with his paws on the shore. After a big effort, the log finally moved, clearing the way. Yes, we did it together. Ziggy cheered, wagging his tail happily. With the obstacle out of the way, they continued racing towards the big rock. They arrived at the finish line, out of breath but filled with joy. They all collapsed onto the grassy riverbank laughing. Carl grinned. That was so much fun. I'm glad we had everyone join in. Daisy smiled. It was the best race ever because we all worked together. Sully nodded in agreement. Yeah, it was a team effort that made it special. Ziggy lay down, looking at his friends with a tired but happy smile. You guys make every adventure amazing. The friends decided to end their day with a campfire by the river. Carl gathered logs and Ziggy found sticks for roasting marshmallows. Sully waddled over with a big grin, ready for some sweet treats. As they settled by the warm fire, the sky turned pink and orange. Ziggy roasted his first marshmallow, but he held it too close, and it caught fire. He yelped and quickly blew it out, staring at the burnt marshmallow. Carl chuckled. Not quite like that, Ziggy. Hold it farther from the flame for a golden, gooey treat. Penny the porcupine, who had just joined them, giggled as she carefully roasted her marshmallow. It turned a perfect golden brown, and she took a bite. This is delicious, she exclaimed. Sully, being the big crocodile he is, roasted 5 marshmallows at once, laughing as he tried to keep them from burning. Ziggy had an idea. Let's make s'mores. We can put the roasted marshmallows between cookies with chocolate. Everyone loved the idea. They made their s'mores, stacking the gooey marshmallows and chocolate between cookies. Carl took a big bite, his mouth covered in sticky marshmallow. Penny laughed. You've got marshmallow all over your snout, Carl. Carl tried to lick it clean. That's the best part, he joked. As the night grew darker, the friends huddled together, sharing stories and laughing under the starry sky. The sound of the crackling fire mixed with their giggles. Penny sighed happily. This has been the best night ever. I'm so glad I joined you all. Carl nodded, smiling at his friends. Me too, Penny. Sharing these moments with my best pals is what makes life so wonderful. Ziggy snuggled up next to Carl, his eyes drooping with sleepiness. You always make every day special, Carl, he yawned. Sully agreed. Roasting marshmallows turned out to be more fun than I imagined. As the fire slowly died down, the friends stayed close, their hearts warm with joy. They knew more adventures awaited them, but for tonight, they were happy just being together under the stars. The moonlight shimmered on the river as the friends sat around their cozy campfire. Ziggy, feeling energized from all the marshmallows, wagged his tail and perked up his ears. Hey, what if we play a game before we go to sleep? Carl's eyes lit up. A game? That sounds like a great idea, Ziggy. What should we play? Daisy flapped her wings in excitement. How about a round of hide and seek? It's one of my favorite games. Ziggy jumped to his paws. I love hide and seek. Let's play by the riverbank. The moon is so bright tonight, it'll be extra fun. Penny the porcupine stretched her tiny legs and smiled. I've never played hide and seek at night before. This will be exciting. Sully the big crocodile grinned widely. All right, I'll be the seeker first. You all have 10 seconds to hide. Ready? 1, 2, 3. He began counting with his eyes closed, while his friends scattered in search of the perfect hiding spots. Ziggy darted behind a large tree trunk, peeking out just enough to see what was happening. Daisy the duck flew up to a low branch and nestled among the leaves, her feathers blending perfectly with the moonlit foliage. Penny found a small bush with thick leaves to hide in, curling up into a tiny ball to stay hidden. Carl, being big and silly, tried to hide behind a rock, but his tail was still sticking out. 8, 9, 10. Ready or not, here I come. Sully called out as he opened his eyes. He looked around, pretending not to see Carl's big tail sticking out from behind the rock. I wonder where Carl could be. Sully said with a playful smirk. Carl giggled but tried to stay quiet. Sully pretended to search everywhere before finally tagging Carl. Gotcha, Carl. I could see your tail from a mile away. Carl laughed. I guess I'm not the best at hiding. Next, Sully looked around and spotted Daisy's little beak peeking out from the leaves. Daisy, I see you up there in the tree. Daisy quacked happily and fluttered down. You found me. That was so much fun. Sully moved closer to the bush where Penny was hiding. He could see her little quills poking out from the leaves. What could this spiky bush be? Oh, it's Penny, he said with a big grin. Penny giggled as she came out of her hiding spot. I almost fooled you, Sully. Finally, Sully looked around for Ziggy. He checked behind rocks and bushes, but couldn't find him anywhere. Where could Ziggy be? He wondered aloud. Ziggy, still hiding behind the large tree trunk, held his breath, hoping he wouldn't be spotted. But then, he let out a tiny bark of excitement, and Sully's sharp ears picked it up. Ziggy burst out laughing. I couldn't help it. I got too excited. The friends all laughed and gathered back at the campfire. That was so much fun, Penny said, her eyes sparkling with joy. I love playing games with all of you. Carl nodded. It was a great idea, Ziggy. You're always thinking of fun things to do. Ziggy smiled, feeling happy and proud. I just love spending time with my best friends. Daisy fluttered her wings as she looked up at the sky. Look at the stars. They're so bright tonight. It's like they're twinkling just for us. The group fell silent for a moment, gazing up at the sparkling sky. The river's gentle flow and the soft rustling of the leaves created a peaceful symphony around them. Suddenly, Ziggy had another idea. How about we make a wish on the brightest star we can find? Everyone loved this idea. They all closed their eyes and made their wishes in their hearts. Ziggy whispered his wish quietly. I wish that we always stay friends and have many more adventures together. Carl grinned, feeling a warm glow in his chest. He looked at his friends one by one and said, I don't need to make a wish. I already have everything I need right here with all of you. Sully, Penny, and Daisy nodded in agreement, feeling the same way. It was a moment of pure happiness, knowing they had each other. As the night grew even darker, the friends started to feel sleepy. Penny yawned, her quills shivering slightly in the cool night air. I think it's time for bed, she said softly. Ziggy snuggled up close to Carl, resting his head on the crocodile's scaly back. Good night, everyone, he murmured with a sleepy smile. Sully stretched out his long tail, making a cozy space for Penny and Daisy to curl up. Good night, Ziggy. Good night, everyone. Sweet dreams. Daisy tucked her head under her wing, feeling safe and warm. Good night, she whispered. Under the starry sky, with the moon casting a gentle light over the river, the friends drifted off to sleep, snuggled up together by the dying embers of their campfire. Their hearts were filled with joy and love, knowing that they'd always have each other, no matter what new adventures awaited them. And as they slept, the river flowed on, whispering stories of friendship and laughter, carrying their dreams into the vast starry night. As the friends slept peacefully under the starry sky, a cool breeze rustled the leaves, carrying the sounds of the river through the night. The moon shone brightly, its silver light reflecting on the water, casting a gentle glow over the little camp by the riverbank. Ziggy stirred in his sleep, his paws twitching as if he were chasing something in his dreams. He let out a soft, contented whimper, snuggling closer to Carl's warm, scaly back. Meanwhile, Sully's deep breathing rumbled like a gentle lullaby, making the ground vibrate ever so slightly. In the distance, a pair of glowing eyes peeked from behind a bush. It was a curious raccoon named Rocky. He had noticed the cozy campfire and the sweet smell of roasted marshmallows wafting through the forest. Quietly, he tiptoed closer, his little nose twitching as he sniffed the air. Rocky peeked at the sleeping friends and spotted a bag of marshmallows they had left out by the fire. His eyes lit up with delight. Oh, what luck, he whispered to himself. I've always wanted to try these fluffy treats. Just as Rocky reached out a tiny paw to grab a marshmallow, Ziggy's ears twitched. He opened one eye sleepily and saw the little raccoon. Ziggy lifted his head but didn't bark. Instead, he smiled. Hello there, he whispered. Are you looking for a snack? Rocky froze, looking startled. Oh, I didn't mean to wake you. I just smelled something sweet and couldn't help but come closer. Ziggy wagged his tail gently. It's okay. We have plenty of marshmallows. You're welcome to join us. Hearing the quiet conversation, Carl, Sully, Penny, and Daisy began to wake up too. They yawned and stretched, noticing the small raccoon standing by their campfire. Carl gave a big friendly smile. "Hello, little one. You're just in time for a midnight snack." Rocky hesitated for a moment, looking at the group of friends who had welcomed him so kindly. "Are you sure? I don't want to intrude." "Of course," Penny chimed in with a bright smile. "The more the merrier. We'd love to share with you." Daisy fluttered her wings lightly. "We were just about to go back to sleep, but I think we can stay up a little longer for a snack, right?" Ziggy nodded eagerly, grabbing the bag of marshmallows. He handed one to Rocky, who took it with a grateful smile. "Thank you so much. I've never had one of these before." Rocky carefully held his marshmallow over the last few glowing embers of the campfire, roasting it just as Penny had done earlier. When it turned golden brown, he took a bite, and his eyes widened in delight. "Wow, this is the best thing I've ever tasted," Carl chuckled. "It's even better when you make s'mores. Here, let's show you how." Together, they made s'mores for Rocky, stacking marshmallows with chocolate between two cookies. Rocky took a big bite, and his little paws got all sticky with marshmallow. He laughed, licking his fingers. "This is amazing. I never knew such a treat existed." Sully leaned back, watching the happy raccoon. "It's nice to make a new friend, especially one who enjoys snacks as much as we do." Rocky looked around at the smiling faces of his new friends, feeling a warmth he had never felt before. "Thank you all for sharing with me. You're the nicest group I've ever met." Ziggy nuzzled Rocky gently. "You're welcome to join us anytime, Rocky. We love making new friends and sharing our adventures." The little raccoon's eyes sparkled with gratitude. "I'd love that. I usually roam the forest alone at night, but it feels much nicer being with all of you." Carl gave Rocky a playful nudge with his snout. "Well, you're part of our crew now, Rocky. We're always up for fun and adventure." With their tummies full of sweet treats and their hearts full of happiness, the friends settled back down. Rocky found a cozy spot between Ziggy and Carl, feeling safe and loved. As they snuggled together, the gentle sounds of the river flowed in the background, and the forest seemed to hum a lullaby. The stars above twinkled brighter than ever, as if they were smiling down on the new friendship that had formed that night. Before they drifted off to sleep again, Rocky whispered softly, "Thank you for letting me be part of your night. I feel like I found something special." Ziggy yawned, his eyes closing sleepily. "Friendship is the most special thing of all," he murmured. "Good night, Rocky." "Good night, everyone," Rocky whispered back, his heart full of joy. And as they lay there under the starry sky, a gentle breeze carried their dreams into the night, weaving them together with laughter, warmth, and the promise of many more adventures to come. As the night wore on, the forest grew quieter. The gentle rustling of the leaves, the soft croak of frogs, and the occasional hoot of an owl created a soothing symphony. The friends were fast asleep, huddled together, but little Rocky the raccoon found himself wide awake. He couldn't stop thinking about how special it felt to be part of such a wonderful group. Rocky's eyes sparkled as he gazed up at the twinkling stars. He hadn't had a chance to share his own story yet, so he decided that this quiet moment was the perfect time. He glanced at Ziggy, who was snoring softly with a paw draped over his nose, and then at Carl, whose big tail was stretched out behind him, twitching every now and then. Feeling a burst of happiness, Rocky gently nudged Ziggy awake. "Psst, Ziggy," he whispered, trying not to wake the others. Ziggy blinked sleepily, his ears perking up. "Rocky, are you okay?" Rocky nodded with a shy smile. "I was just thinking, I've never really had friends like this before. I usually explore the forest on my own. Tonight is the first time I've ever felt like I belong somewhere." Ziggy's tail wagged slowly as he smiled at the little raccoon. "We're glad you found us, Rocky. You fit right in. It's like you were always meant to be part of our little family." Rocky's eyes grew misty. "You really think so?" "Absolutely," Ziggy said with a sleepy but sincere nod. "You bring something special to the group, just like everyone else does. That's what makes our adventures so much fun. Each of us has something unique to share. Touched by Ziggy's kind words, Rocky decided to share a story of his own. He lowered his voice, speaking softly so as not to wake Carl, Sully, Penny, or Daisy. You know, when I was a little raccoon, I used to watch the stars every night. My mom would tell me that each star is a wish waiting to come true. Ziggy's eyes widened with interest. Wow, that's a beautiful thought. Did you ever make a wish? Rocky nodded, looking up at the sparkling sky. Yes, I did. I wished for a group of friends who would go on adventures with me, who would be there through thick and thin. And tonight, I realized that my wish finally came true. Ziggy's heart swelled with warmth. He nudged Carl gently, whispering, "Hey Carl, wake up. Rocky has something to share." Carl opened one eye, groggily lifting his head. What's going on?" He yawned, his big teeth gleaming in the moonlight. "Rocky was just telling me about how he used to make wishes on stars," Ziggy explained, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "And tonight, he realized his wish for friends finally came true." Carl's face softened into a big, warm smile. "That's wonderful, Rocky. I'm so glad we could be the friends you wished for. It feels like we were meant to find each other." At this point, Sully, Penny, and Daisy started to stir, rubbing their eyes as they woke up. "What's all the whispering about?" asked Sully, still half asleep. Ziggy filled them in quickly. "Rocky was just sharing a story about wishing for friends like us." Penny's eyes lit up with delight. "Oh, Rocky, that's the sweetest thing I've ever heard. We're so lucky to have you with us." Daisy flapped her wings gently, smiling at the little raccoon. "It's amazing how wishes have a way of coming true when you least expect them." The friends all gathered closer, feeling the night air grow chilly, but their hearts warm with the love and joy of newfound friendship. Rocky looked around at his new friends, feeling a sense of belonging he had never known before. "I've spent so many nights alone wishing on stars, but tonight, I don't need to make a wish because I have everything I've ever wanted right here." Sully wrapped his big tail around the group, pulling them into a cozy cuddle. "You're one of us now, Rocky, and we promise you'll never have to spend another night alone." Carl nodded with a smile. "That's right. We're not just friends, we're family." Ziggy licked Rocky's cheek playfully. "And family sticks together no matter what." They all sat quietly for a moment, feeling the warmth of their friendship. The stars above seemed to shine even brighter, celebrating the bond they had formed. Finally, Penny spoke up, her voice full of excitement. "How about we make this a tradition? Every year, we come back here for a campfire, roast marshmallows, and share stories under the stars. It'll be our special night to remember how we came together." Everyone agreed enthusiastically. Daisy flapped her wings. "I love it. A night just for us and our sweet adventures." The group snuggled together for warmth, and Rocky nestled between Ziggy and Carl, feeling more at home than ever. As he closed his eyes, a single tear of happiness slid down his cheek, knowing he'd found his place in the world. The stars twinkled above, as if smiling down at the friends who had found each other in this magical moment. From that night on, they made it a point to return each year, remembering the night Rocky joined their group, and how a wish on a star brought them all together. The next morning, the sun rose over the river, and the sound of birds filled the air. Ziggy stretched, feeling refreshed from the cozy night with his friends. Carl grinned. "How about we start the day with a new adventure?" Ziggy's tail wagged. "What do you have in mind?" Carl pointed to a distant hill. "I've always wanted to climb that hill and see what's on the other side. Who's with me?" Sully yawned but was eager for the fun. "Count me in. I bet the view is amazing." Daisy fluttered ahead. "I'll scout the way." Penny and Rocky exchanged excited glances. "Let's go," Penny said. Together, they set off toward the hill, laughing and enjoying each other's company. Rocky felt grateful for the night before and the friendship they shared. With every step, he knew their bond was growing stronger, and this was just the beginning of many more adventures. As they climbed, the path grew steeper, But they pushed on. Ziggy bounded ahead, his golden fur shining in the morning light, while Sully plodded along with his large feet. Carl splashed through a small stream, keeping pace with the others. Daisy flew above. Almost there. You're going to love the view. Rocky climbed a large boulder, looking down at the others. Come on, slowpokes. Not far now. Penny giggled as she carefully stepped over rocks. I can't wait to see what's on the other side. Finally, they reached the top, panting but grinning from ear to ear. They looked down into the valley below, where colorful wildflowers, a sparkling lake, and a forest full of tall trees greeted their eyes. Ziggy's tail wagged furiously. Wow, it's even more beautiful than I imagined. Carl nodded. I knew there had to be something special here. Sully let out a big laugh. We should call this Friendship Valley, because we discovered it together. Daisy landed gracefully on a rock. It's perfect. We can come here for picnics and play games. Penny clapped her paws. I can already picture the best adventures here. Rocky smiled, feeling content. I'm glad we climbed this hill. It's like we've found a new home away from home. The group sat together, soaking in the peaceful view, knowing they'd found a special place to return to. Ziggy took a deep breath of the fresh, flowery air and turned to his friends. I'm so lucky to have all of you. No matter where we go or what we do, as long as we're together, every day is a new adventure. The friends nodded in agreement, their hearts full of happiness. They knew Friendship Valley was just the beginning of many more exciting days. And with that, they made a promise to return often, to laugh, explore, and keep their bond strong forever.